Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs kick off one of the most active free agency periods in recent memory, with trades, signings, and departures, as well as a whole lot of other money being thrown around the NFL right now. What is going on in Baltimore with the Maxx Crosby deal and Ronda Rousey returning to fight? All this and more as EDJ returns on the Papa Shronos podcast this week. EDJ, welcome back to the podcast. There's been a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about. How you been, my man?
I've been good. Very busy. Lots of stuff going on. You know, we've got spring swing and a lot of March Madness heading our way, which is something we did talk about in the pre-meeting, which we might talk about just for a second. But not only that, but just in general, along the metro area, and just bounds lots of high school stuff too. So busy schedules, but even busier in the sports world in general. We'll dive into that and talk about the very enjoyable back out of Maxx Crosby's trade.
Say that again. The very enjoyable what?
Back out of Maxx Crosby's trade. Who doesn't enjoy the Raiders
dude,
getting screwed over? I mean,
man. So do you want? Let's start with Chiefs stuff, and then we'll
sure.
work our way to the general stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about that as well. Let's start with day one free agency, as well as, you know, obviously Trent McDuffie getting dealt to the Rams. I'm gonna look up exactly what that deal entails, but the Chiefs did pick up the number, I want to say 29 overall pick in the draft. So that coupled with the number 9 overall pick. How do you feel about? We'll start with the signings of Kenneth Walker and the trade of Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, I think it works out pretty well, you know, in terms of what the Chiefs wanted to do. I think you and I kind of talked about what were they going to do if they didn't get Kenneth Walker. Is it going to be Jeremiah Love? Is it going to be whoever? I think the assumption was if it was going to be Kenneth Walker, the Chiefs might try to move up and get Jeremiah Love, because it sounded like he was going to go before 9. From a couple different reports, the Saints would have grabbed him at 8 or something like that, from what I understood. Obviously, the Saints aren't going to do that anymore either, because they just got Travis Etienne. So I think now you kind of look at it as a Chiefs perspective is, do we do it anyway and have, you know, a phenomenal running back tandem? I don't know if that's what the Chiefs, how they want to go with that. Especially with the moves they made defensively, with letting a lot of guys go. I think they're looking more towards building a younger defense again, and making it cheaper, which is understandable because the Chiefs are going to have to remain cheap as long as Pat's on the team. So I think that is where they're going with that. I can't foresee them having a Jeremiah Love, Kenneth Walker backfield, as beautiful as that sounds. I just don't think it's in the Chiefs' future. As for the second pick in the first round, if it's not a receiver, I don't know what we're talking about. You know, I mean, we definitely need to refill that holster in that lineup deeply, maybe a corner. But I really think, and obviously we have a lot of question marks still to go through here, because Brett does like to make some moves on draft night, as we've seen in the past. Does he go out and get a cat with one of our first round picks in the draft, you know, and avoids drafting a rookie? Possibly, probably. I wouldn't be surprised by it. But there's a lot of question marks with Chiefs, you know, with Rashee Rice and his situations off the field. You know, do the Chiefs bring back Tyreek Hill for one more year? That's more of a rumor than anything at the moment. You know, but is Worthy going to be healthy? Tyquan Thornton's coming back, but how much of a role is he going to play? Is Hollywood Brown going to come back? Is he going to sign somewhere else? You know, there's just a lot of question marks in that room that you can't avoid. Oh, we'll get somebody in the third round. You know, oh, there's always a good receiver out there somewhere. Well, there is, but if you're the Chiefs, you kind of need to grab somebody pretty early, in my opinion. I don't know how you're feeling on that, but I don't think if we go offense at 9, we need to go corner or DN at 9, but we definitely need to go receiver at one of the 2 picks.
Yeah, I could kind of agree with you, and like you said, just kind of unpack some of the stuff that you said, because we're going to definitely dive into the draft stuff, especially with that coming up in, about a month and a half now, for the 2026 NFL draft. But it was a first-round pick, 29, as I mentioned, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, and a 3rd-round pick for next year for McDuffie, which, you know, honestly, I love the trade. I think that it was the right thing to do McDuffie gets a huge deal, which Jaylon Watson also signs with the Rams, which I don't see that it's updated on Over the Cap yet of what the numbers were for McDuffie. 124 million, 100 million guaranteed with the Rams though, over 4 years. So, but structurally year by year, that's not up yet. But either way, I mean the Chiefs weren't going to pay that, and they've shown that over the last few years. I think Noah Williams is a great candidate to get in that number one role. It does loom some questions about that secondary of now with Josh Williams signing with Tennessee Titans as well. A lot of that depth is gone. Najee Johnson is a free agent. What was I going to say? With Jaylon Watson going as well, that worries me, but then that looms Christian Fulton. How big of a role is he going to have in 2026, which I'm not very high on. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I haven't loved the offseason so far that the Chiefs have put together. But, you know, I'm willing to roll with what they're doing. The Kenneth Walker deal, I don't know what the word is. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Spending $15 million a year on a running back that has kind of shown that he can't be the, you know, every down guy, or, you know, may not, I don't know, just be the guy that can carry a workhorse like load. I think with Kenneth Walker, obviously Charbonnet, and him split time, which I do think the Chiefs are going to end up doing. You still have Brashard Smith, but I do think that that's a good question of, do you get a running back in the draft still? At some point, is it Jeremiah Love? I don't think he's going to be there at 9 at this point. Honestly, the two guys that I thought would be there at 9, maybe that you could, or three guys. There's three guys on my wish list at 9, really, and that was Jeremiah Love before getting Kenneth Walker. Caleb Downs, I thought would be a decent pickup, just to have another, you know, DB in the mix. He's a safety, and then Ruben Bain Jr. is the, you know, guy that I'd love to see the Chiefs get at defensive end. But as for going back to free agency, I do think that Alohi Gilman is a good pick. Alohi Gilman, I think, is a good pickup, although, you know, we were texting about it earlier and saying I don't know about his tackling, but coverage looks decent from what I've seen on film so far. As well as, Tonga. I did a film breakdown on him the other day, and I really do like Khyiris Tonga. I think that was a really good kind of sleeper pickup. And the guy can play fullback, too. So defensive tackle, can play fullback, has some snaps from the edge, versatile, exactly what Spags wants. But the one where I was hurt, I tweeted this yesterday. I haven't been this hurt since a player leaving, since Frank Clark got released, and that is Leo Chenal over to the Washington Commanders. They got a hell of a linebacker, and I was very disappointed to see Leo Chenal leave, which in the linebacker situation, I don't know. Drew Tranquill, I feel like he's kind of lost some stock with me over the last couple of years. He's getting older, and it just felt like the right thing to do was to move on from Tranquill and keep Chenal. I don't know. What are your thoughts about the linebacking situation?
Well, I think they're going based off of just price in general. I think Chanel would have required more money. I think he got a pretty good deal from the Commanders in terms of for him financially. I think Tranquill's kind of locked in for the long haul. They extended him, I think it was last year or the year before. Um, you know, and like you said, it just mainly just kind of depends on where they're going to go with. Um, I think you said Basler or whatever his last name is.
Yeah, Jeffrey
I think that's
Bossa.
close. Basler, yeah. Is a fifth round pick, and keep in mind the Chiefs are very, or I shouldn't say Chiefs. Spagnuolo is very fond of late round guys
Yeah.
filling his defensive spots. So this is nothing new under the Spagnuolo regime defensively. This is nothing new under Brett Veach. This is very normal for the Chiefs, but it's concerning when this is probably one of the worst defenses we've had since Spagnuolo's been here. So it does raise a lot of concerns. Letting go Chanel, who was, like you talked about, very good at just a general field coverage linebacker. Willie Gay 2 years ago, or well, yeah, 2 years ago, last year, whatever it was. That one hurt us a lot. And a lot of people, well, it's Willie Gay. Well, yeah, do you not know how good Willie Gay? I mean, he's not, Bolton or Ray Lewis, but I mean, Willie Gay was phenomenal coverage linebacker.
In a
And
great
if you
spot.
didn't think you noticed, yeah. And if you didn't think you noticed last year, you noticed that
Yeah.
was not there anymore. And it had to do with safety coverage too. But
Well, I
for the
think
most
you.
part,
Well, real quick, I was just gonna say I think you hit the nail on the head
yeah.
because I do think that was one of the last two off seasons I've done film breakdowns on Leo Chenal, and I've been big on him, since they drafted him, and he was a guy that he could take over for that role. So I do think that you absolutely bring up a very valid point of who takes that role over next year because maybe Bolton you can throw in the mix a little bit, like talking about spying at least. Bolton maybe. Tranquil, I don't love him in that role, but who is there? Jeffrey Bassa? Are they that high on Bassa? Which, from my film breakdown from the preseason, I like Jeffrey Bassa personally, but I haven't dove into the 2025 film to really see, where he's improved or what he could bring to the table for next year. So I don't know. It doesn't make me worried, but at the end of the day, I was just a big Leo Chenal guy, so that's a tough loss. But like you said, there's a lot of questions. So I do think the defense wasn't great last year. And like you said, maybe one of the worst of the Spagnuolo era. And I think that gives me somewhat of optimism that, okay, they see that, they're kind of tearing everything down and restarting, and much like they're doing with the offense as well. So I don't know. All of the moves, I see the vision of what they're doing. I guess it'd be per se not exactly what I would have done this offseason, but hey, I'm not an NFL GM, so maybe that's why.
Well, what would you rather do? Give somebody 2 first-round picks and then back out of it in the last minute? Is that what you'd rather do? Um, I agree with you. I don't think it's a huge splash for the Chiefs in the offseason, but it's usually not. Unless if we just go and hit a grand slam, it's just not. And but it shows it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like the Patriots. The Patriots made moves that kind of made you go, okay, but it's nothing great, but it's what we need, and that's what Brett Veach has always done. But what you don't need is a potential tampering violation by the Baltimore Ravens for offering the Raiders 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby on top of other things, I believe. But that was the main point, was 2 first-round picks. And then he gets his physical, which I don't even think it was pending physical, from my understanding. I think it was just they already decided to agree to the terms. The Ravens back out, and then literally 5 minutes later, signed Trey Hendrickson, a 4-year, $112 million contract. Why? I just don't understand it. And it's a and I broke it down. It's a $5 million difference between Trey Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby. Trey Hendrickson isn't as good as Maxx Crosby, and Trey Hendrickson's older. So I mean, Trey Hendrickson is fine. But if you were going to go out and give 2 first-round picks, which, again, any defensive player for 2 first-round picks is too much. I just don't see anyone in the league getting 2 first-round picks for anyone of significance defensively. Maybe Micah Parsons, but just any defensive player, 2 first-round picks, you're asking too much for.
That's a good one because I don't remember what that trade was. I'm gonna look that up right now because
I can't
what did
remember.
they get for Micah Parsons?
I'm sure they got a first round, but
it was 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, so 2026 and a 2027. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It's fair, but I mean, even then, that's too. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like any defensive player 2 first-round picks, unless they're just a different world. I think Dion got 2 first-round picks, but I think at that time he was considered one of the best of all time already. So you can go either way, but to go in if you're Baltimore, give it to the Raiders. The Raiders say thank you very much, and then go out and fill a lot of holes and spend a lot of money. And then the Ravens go, nah, we're good.
Just kidding.
And then they go out and, just kidding. And then sign somebody to a pretty big contract. Well, what the fuck? Listen, I mean, it's enjoyable because it happened to the Raiders, but, that's wrong on so many levels. And I know people say, well, it was pending physical, pending physical. I don't really think it was. I mean, if you went out and got him for 2 first-round picks, you obviously weren't worried about it that much.
Right.
So I just think that's kind of a BS cover-up of, oh, well, he didn't pass our physical. Well, you didn't seem to care that much.
Okay.
So
I do see your point. I say yes and no just because, any trade, you're obviously going to have to go through a physical to complete it. Um, I don't know. And just to play devil's advocate a little bit, Maxx Crosby was out with a knee injury, and that's the sighting. There was, I want to say, I should pull up the tweet, but there was a tweet from, I want to say it was the same doctor that diagnosed Brady's knee or something to that effect, where he was just worried about, I think the meniscus is what was torn, and he just got off crutches this week. But to your point of, well, you knew about the injury because you went out to go get him. I mean, you're going to know what's going on with the guy if you're trading 2 first-round draft picks for him. But, yeah, I agree with you in the situation of, and I hadn't looked at the money yet, so to have $5 million difference, and is that $5 million less they're paying Hendrickson than...
no, so Max's deal with the Raiders is 3 years, 106, and Trey's is 412.
Okay.
So it's about a $5 million difference.
Yeah, and now the 2 draft picks, I mean, I think that's the kicker here is you keep your 2 draft picks, you go out and sign Hendrickson, and either way, though, and so that leads me back to losing the amount of defensive players that they lost. Speaking of, one of the guys the Chiefs got was a safety from the Ravens in Alohi Gilman. Keep forgetting either that guy's first name or his last name, but bringing in Alohi Gilman from the team, who else did they lose? I mean, they lost plenty of guys on that defense. I'm gonna look at.
I think they've lost pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There wasn't a lot of cats that stayed around. So I mean, they lost Isaiah Likely offensively. Um, there's quite a few. I mean, the Ravens are pretty bare right now. So I think that's what surprised me too was the fact that they wanted to go out and give 2 first-round picks
Right.
when they have a lot of holes to fill, and then turn around and give somebody $112 million, which whatever. I mean, if that's what you feel like is best for your team, then whatever. But again, a lot of people aren't really worried about how good Baltimore is going to be defensively. It's, well, how's Lamar going to get the finish line now? And that's been your hang up on your team is where's Lamar going to finish.
To be fair, I guess it was only 2 safeties, a linebacker, and a defensive end that they lost. But then they've also lost their punter, their fullback, both to the Giants. Tyler Lindenbaum, the center, you said Likely, and then Charlie Kohler, also the Chargers. Likely went to the Giants as well. So quite a few guys following Harbaugh to New York from Baltimore. But I do agree to your point. They were able to sign re-sign a Woozy. But to your point of the offense, I do agree. I mean, they need to. I don't know. I don't know what Baltimore is doing. I think that whole AFC North is in a weird situation depending on the team. Obviously, the Browns are the Browns. The Steelers just lost their coach and Aaron Rodgers, so they don't have a quarterback. You got the Bengals, who are the Bengals, and then now the Baltimore team, where I get wanting another edge rusher to be able to try to finish, but offensively they need to do something. I mean, I don't know who all else is still available. I know there was talk. Ray told me about bringing Hollywood Brown back to Baltimore because I don't think that he comes back to Kansas City. I think especially after the deal with Tyquan Thornton, who the Chiefs got for pretty cheap, all things considered. Once you see that Alec Pierce deal, they're similar play styles, and Alec Pierce got a whole lot of money along with Danny Dimes. Man, it's been a wild first week to free agency, and I think that,
Well,
go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and a lot of people are shocked by that Alex Pierce deal. I was too. I thought that was kind of enormous. I mean, it's the most money any receiver's ever seen in free agent history. So it's definitely a shocker. I think for Daniel Jones, I think the Colts were probably going to keep him, um, but to give him another $100 million, 2 years, I think is what ended up being around $100 million. So I'm sure there's floors and ceilings in every deal.
Oh yeah, talking about
Um,
Danny Dimes. Yeah, 2
yeah,
years, 50
yeah,
million a year.
yeah. So
Insane.
I mean, 100 total, but I'm sure it goes either way, whatever. But talk about a guy who's making a lot of money and doesn't have to do very much. I mean, Daniel Jones is going to be a rich man. It's almost like the Chase Daniel story. Chase Daniel maybe played what 7 games and has like $75 million in the bank or something like that. So it's crazy that some of these guys can be very average or below average and be some of the wealthiest men when they leave. Um,
It's that quarterback money,
I
man.
don't know what the Colts are. Yeah, well, it is, but I mean, look at Sam Darnold. He got 3 years, $100 million, and
Mm-hmm.
he just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna sign Daniel Jones, who didn't really do, I shouldn't say that. The Colts falling apart isn't on Daniel Jones, but they didn't have a plan. Obviously, he's not. Everyone knows who he is. But if you're gonna go out and give Sam Darnold 3 years, $100 million, and you see that result, and you see what Seattle did with kind of a Moneyball style team. They weren't over the top expensive. Um, it just surprised me that teams don't learn from that. It surprises me that teams, especially the Colts. I mean, good Lord Almighty. But I don't. The Colts are in a bad spot because what are you going to do with quarterback? Give it back over to Anthony Richardson. What's he going to do? Sub out in the fourth quarter? It's just that's hard to do if you're Indianapolis because you don't know what your quarterback situation is outside. If Daniel Jones leaves, you either have to bring back Richardson and make him play, or you go draft a quarterback and hope, that you can get something done. You're basically starting all over if you don't get Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and
It's basically what it came down to.
this is not the draft class for a quarterback because after Fernando Mendoza, I don't think that there's really anybody that looks like the guy. But
Well, there were a couple of guys that looked like the guy. You had Drew Waller who got hurt.
true,
Garrett
Nussmeier.
Nussmeier from
Mm-hmm.
LSU. He had a lot of hype the year before.
Yeah,
So I think there are some guys that are out there, but they're not first round worthy. They're just not out of Mendoza. So yeah, it's not a good class. If you're a quarterback team, you're kind of waiting for next year. Maybe waiting for Arch, maybe waiting for a couple other guys, but you're kind of screwed. So I think the Colts. Well, we'll just pay Daniel Jones 2 more years. If it works out, but that's a tough seat to live in.
no, I completely agree with you. And even looking at, so here's a question for you. Looking at available quarterbacks right now on the market, would you take Kyler Murray or Daniel Jones?
Kind of flip a coin.
Okay, so if you were going to
Uh,
pay Kyler Murray a whole lot less, who are you
yeah.
taking?
If I can pay Kyler Murray a whole lot less, I don't know. That's that. And see, this is what I'm talking about. I think the Colts had the same conversation. It's
Yeah.
that's tough.
Well, okay,
Who do we
next
go out and get? Kyler Murray for
next up,
30 million
Kirk
less?
Cousins.
For it's an option.
Market
It's
value.
an option.
Market value
It's an
10.7.
option. I mean, it's an option for 1 year. I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
for 1 year, I think you can go out and get Kirk Cousins for 1 year. You showed that you had the ability last year to play well. I just, you just fell apart. And injuries, quarterback issues, whatever. But go out and get Kirk Cousins for 1 year. I don't. Who else is out there? Who else is out
after that, Aaron Rodgers is on the list, although I'm pretty sure he's retired. Has he officially announced retirement?
I'm sure he never will. But,
You're right.
whatever.
Okay. After that, you got Russell Wilson in there, Zach Wilson, Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz. After that's about a wash.
Oh, after that's a wash. Okay. Um, yeah,
That was the best reaction. Oh, after that's a wash. Yeah,
yeah,
after
that's
that, you're dipping into like the 52 overalls on Madden. Like to put that into perspective. Because after that, you got Brandon
yeah.
Allen, John Walford, Easton Stick, Brett Ripien, Skylar Thompson, Hendon Hooker, who I don't think that I've heard his name since Tennessee. Sam Howell.
I was
You know
gonna
what?
say.
Low key, Sam Howell, I don't think would be a bad get because I think that he's only
Yeah.
25 still. He's shown that he can, he can keep up in the league. I mean, I don't know, like what we're talking about is, talking about a possible 1 year guy. I mean, could he start for a year for you? It wouldn't be the greatest thing, but maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Howell wouldn't be bad, but I think you're looking at 8 and 9, 7 and 10. I think the Colts feel like they have a chance to do something,
Yeah.
after last year. So I just think you stick with what you know. And I think that's what a lot of teams trying to do this year who needed a quarterback or they're going to go get one. Obviously, the Cardinals decided to not stick with what they know, which I
Yeah.
don't blame them.
I think they're gunning for Arch
But
next year.
yeah, I would hope so. I mean,
Right.
I don't. Who are they going to go get? Where are they drafted? 2 or 3?
That's a good question, actually.
I think they're top 3 for sure,
I think you're correct. Yeah, 3.
or close to it.
Yeah.
3. Okay. I mean, do you roll the dice on Drew Aller at 3? Surely not.
Right.
Garrett Nussbaum at 3? Surely not. So
I mean, at that
think
point, you
probably,
could move back. I mean, I think
yeah.
that Mendoza will go, and then do we see another quarterback go off the board in the first round?
I'd have to look at it.
I'm not sold on that.
Pull up the class because I'm not exactly sure.
I got you.
Who that is?
After Mendoza, who's ranked number 1 overall per PFF is what I'm going off of right here. You have ranked 42nd Ty Simpson, 88th Garrett Nussmeier, 91st Drew Aller, 105 Carson Beck, 161 Cade Klubnik, 229 Jalen Daniels, 233 Taylor Green. I mean, at that point, you go get Diego Pavia, 251 ranked overall. Yeah, I don't think that there's much past Fernando Mendoza. I mean, maybe you find a guy you like in here, you feel like you can develop, but I think Mendoza goes number 1 overall, and we don't see another quarterback until at least the second round.
Yeah, and I forgot all about Ty Simpson. And he's a guy who it kind of surprised me. He's a one and done. Well, I guess he's kind of been sitting out of Alabama for a while. I think a lot of people forgot he's sat behind a couple guys. I don't know. Surely, when you're the Cardinals, like you talked about, unless they have a guy in mind defensively that they want, or maybe a wide receiver, or running back, or something like that, you probably trade back if you're Arizona. Get stock for next year, and I think they did that a couple of years ago with the Texans, and Arizona ended up having, I think, like 3 first round or so. So I mean, maybe they do that again.
I remember that.
Yeah, maybe they do that again. I don't know, but it's just tough to sit a year where it's not a quarterback year.
Right.
It's not really a wide receiver year. There's not really a lot of big time guys floating around out there. There's some good players, but nothing amazing. It's a defensive year. And those drafts kind of outside of the first 20, 25 picks, they get kind of stale and kind of boring because you don't really know who's out there. So it's going to be tough for a lot of these GMs to figure out, okay, we need a good corner at 13. A lot of these drafts force you to make a pick that you probably weren't going to make at 13, but you have to because that guy's going to be gone at pick 17. So it's just
really super funny about just that whole. I know you're just being, you're just throwing that out there, but number 13 is the Rams. They do not need a cornerback. I just thought that was ironic because I just went back to the page with all the picks. But no, you're absolutely right. And so, with us obviously being very Chiefs centered and focused, what about number 3? How do you feel about moving up to 3? What do you got to
At
give
that
up to
point, I
get
would
to number
hope it's
3? Though is
not.
the question.
Yeah, at that point, I would hope it's not Jeremiah Love and it's somebody that we desperately needed.
Sonny
You know,
Styles could possibly
Sonny
be
Styles.
one.
I was getting ready to say
Uh
Sonny
huh.
Styles. Did you see his combine numbers?
No, I haven't done my homework, and we're gonna get to that of like or I guess we could start that now.
Mm-hmm.
How does the draft philosophy change now for the Chiefs? Because I feel like even for me, just kind of looking at some of the talent and kind of digging into some of the prospects, like my whole perspective has changed this week because before it was very much, and I think edge rusher is still a big one, but now receiver is kind of thrown back on the board, and you kind of hit on that earlier, where now I'm looking through more of the receiver one-on-ones, and especially then also to get a look at some of the DBs in this class as well, because what do you do at cornerback? I mean, obviously, like I said, you've got Noah Williams that you drafted last year. You've got Christian Fulton, who we'll see what happens there. But I do think that's a possible, or even go out and get another safety. I think Caleb Downs almost is still could be viable because you're missing. You bring in Gilman, but you lose Cook. How much how much faith do you have in Jaden Hicks? Personally, I like Jaden Hicks, and I think being able to just play more of a strong safety role fits him a little bit more. But now you're down to Gilman, Hicks, and Chamari Connor, and I know that probably worries a lot of Chiefs fans. Although, I'm a big fan of both of those guys, Chamari Connor and um, Hicks, but they both have their troubles in coverage. So, do you go out and find get Caleb Downs if he's there at 9? I don't know.
You do, but I don't know if he'll be there or not.
Agreed.
I think a lot of people are very high on him. I think Sonny Styles, like you said, will probably be in the top 3 or 5. Um, but he's a guy that just jumps out at you on the front page. I think he ran a 4.3, uh, 40. He had a 42-inch or 42 vertical or something like that. All his stuff are like a 10. Was it 10.7 or 11.7? Something like that. Long jump. I mean, he's a freak. 6'4", 240 pounds. It's everything you want. Um, in a linebacker, in the NFL, especially this day and age with the speed and the strength that everyone has. You want a Sonny Styles type. Now, if they actually go out and get him and trade for him, that's another thing. So, do I see the Chiefs moving from 9 to 3? No, but if Brett feels like they're not going to get an opportunity at somebody like that, I'm not surprised. Like I said, Brett makes moves on draft day.
Okay, are you familiar with the relative athletic score?
No, I was wondering why you look so curious. What is it?
Bro, because I am okay. Everything in my mind has absolutely changed. Sonny Styles is the number 1 pick. He has to be for the Chiefs. Sonny Styles scored a 10.0 RAS out of a possible 10.0. This is ranked number 1 out of 3,215 linebackers from 1987 to 2026. You know who else was like top 5? Leo Chenal was this is Leo Chenal's replacement right here. And I don't know anything about Sonny Styles, like, to be 100% honest, really. And I'm kind of behind on the combine stuff. I've been kind of going back and rewatching some of the stuff from it and watching some of the stuff from the Senior Bowl. But Jesus, just looking at this RAS score is insane. Shout out to @MathBomb over on X. That's an account I follow and have followed for the last few years just to get, it's just it's a grade off of a composite size grade, composite speed grade, composite explosive grade. And it's the best score that's ever been brought from any linebacker ever.
Well, and again, I don't want to get our hopes up or Chiefs fans' hopes up because the Chiefs are cheap at times.
Yeah.
But don't be overly surprised if you hear that the Chiefs have made a trade on draft day. Who's number two? That'll tell me a lot. Who's number two?
Drafted number 2?
Yeah.
The Jets. Who just went
They're
out and
not
got
gonna
Geno
go on
Smith
there,
to be
too.
their quarterback.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, what a poetic way to start your career on the terrible Jets and to end your career on the terrible Jets. I mean, talk about a mirroring around. I can't see them taking a linebacker or two. Maybe they do. I don't know. But again, there's no quarterbacks outside of Mendoza. There's not a single quarterback.
Exactly.
So I mean, the Jets need offense. I would assume. Their best receiver is Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Or Breece Hall is a running back, obviously, but I don't even know the top 5 receiver. It's just, well, maybe they do. Hell, maybe we do need to go number 2. I don't know. I think Sony Styles might be out of reach for us. If Brett does it, he does it. I feel like Brett's going to try to hold on to that 9th pick. I think he will try to move the 2nd pick. But I just feel like in terms of the Chiefs trying to really build this roster back up and doing it youthfully and cheaply and basically the 4-and-out plan is what the Chiefs have gone for the past 6 or 7 years. Draft guys, play them 4 or 5 years, send them, trade them, do something else with them. If the Chiefs are sticking to that model, which works for a certain period of time, then I feel like Brett will try to keep 9 and whatever he does with whatever it is, 29th pick. That could be, we'll give you 29th pick and the next year's. I don't want him to do that, but I feel like if he's going to do that, that would probably be the time to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to find any type of mock draft I can find, which the one that I found on PFF was very old and had Dante Moore at number 2, who stayed in college. Yeah, I'm kind of curious of just like where everyone's projecting right now of who's going where. Okay, ESPN, they've got Mendoza going number 1, David Bailey going number 2, Arvell Reese, edge out of Ohio State, going 3, Carnell Tate 4 to the Titans, Caleb Downs 5 to the Giants, Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia, to the Browns, Jeremiah Love to the Commanders. Number 8, New Orleans Saints take Mekhi Lemon. Kansas City Chiefs, Francis Mauigoa out of Miami. That would have the Chiefs skipping on both Sonny Styles and Reuben Bain Jr. I have a question for you, because this has seemed to be a theme over the last, couple of days that I've been watching Chiefs content. Who's the right tackle next year?
That's a good question. First of all, I forgot about Cornell Tate and Lemon. Those are two. That would explain the 2 best receivers. Anyway, that makes sense. And by the way, just so we're clear, you listed like 5 Buckeyes in the first 7 picks. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, who's going to be the right tackle? That's a good question. I've heard a big rumor that's going to be Trent Williams. Get him for 1 year, put him at left and put Justin Simmons at right. I think that sounds like a mess. I don't know if that happens.
Yeah, I hate that idea.
I think they draft one. Maybe. You might have to look up the tackles too. I don't know if there. I know there's a couple. I know Proctor from Alabama is a high valued tackle. There's a couple guys out there, but
yeah, I think
he mainly plays
Proctor
left.
So really my point in this is I feel like collectively, and like not just to pick on you, EDJ, but collectively we've all forgotten about the Chiefs signed their right tackle last offseason, Jaylon Moore. I feel like everybody acts like Jaylon Moore's not on the roster because it's not like, that's why I wanted to pose the question to you, because I feel like it's just kind of a collective, like we all just forgot Jaylon Moore exists. Whereas even last
That's
year
true.
when Josh Simmons and Jawan Taylor were both hurt, they did not move Jaylon Moore from the right tackle spot over to left tackle. They had Wanye Morris fill in. And I totally think that was to get him ready to take over that role next year. They knew they were going to cut Jawan Taylor this offseason unless, magically he became the best right tackle in the NFL. And they cut him. And you've got Jaylon Moore who's making, I think it's 15, 16 million this year. I don't see how he wouldn't be the right tackle. But there's been plenty of Chiefs content I've watched over the last few days where, and even on the mock draft simulator on PFF, every time that I draft somebody that's not a tackle in the first round, they're like, hey, you should have drafted this tackle instead. And I'm like, we don't need a tackle. At least not that early, I don't think. I don't think the Chiefs I don't think that's a pressing issue this year. I think
That's
Josh
true.
Simmons is the guy.
And that's true. And I've forgotten about Jaylon Moore because, we were so injury prone, and I think maybe that's kind of blocked out. But
True.
But that's true. I mean, I think that is why we brought him here, and I think that was kind of the talk last year was, okay, we'll do one more year with Jawan Taylor. He'll get cut. Moore will replace him. We'll be good. And I think that was basically the plan. But I think with so many injuries this year, I think people just kind of forgot about that. And I didn't too. I didn't foresee who was going to play right tackle, but that makes sense to me. So maybe we're not worried about the tackle at all. There's a lot of things that I think people are worried about the Chiefs, but the Chiefs just weren't worried about, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not worried about losing Leo Chenal. They're not worried about, who's going to play right tackle. I'm sure they have it figured out. And I think that's any fan base. But, it just kind of seems like Brett and Andy and Clark and, whoever, they just seem to have it figured out. Now, it's not always the best idea. But
Agreed.
They at least seem to know who they want on the team and who they want to play. And yeah, I mean, I think Jaylon Moore will be the right tackle. That's a good point. It's just something that you kind of forget about. A lot of people say, well, what about that Pole guy? Please don't put him out there for the whole year. I mean, yeah, he played fine for a couple games, and it was the first time he ever played in the NFL pretty much. But just please, I don't want to see us at 9-2 and fighting for our playoff lives against, the Broncos or whatever it is. They play good again, and Pole gets blown out of his shoes and Patrick clutches his knee. No one wants to see that. You want Simmons on the left and Moore on the right. That's what you want. And then whoever plays left guard, it sounds like Kingsley is officially the left guard. I'm okay with that. He seemed to do pretty well. I'm just mainly concerned about his finishing. It just seemed like he had an issue with that last year. It didn't in the Ravens game last year, or 2 years ago, I should say. But it just seems like he kind of lost a step a little bit. Who knows? But I think the Chiefs are pretty confident in what they got. Kingsley.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's very much better suited as the guard in the NFL than he was the tackle. Obviously, he didn't look great at tackle a couple of years ago, but I do think he found his footing at left guard. I think the Chiefs' line is fine, and that's something I've also heard from, just being floated around is like the offensive line needs help. Well, the offensive line was hurt last year. Like you make a very good point about that. Is we kind of just forget because everybody was so injured all season. Yeah, and I think Esapole is a fine backup as for right now. Maybe a guy that could develop into a starter. Maybe, by next season, and by that I mean the 2027 season, he's ready to take over Jaylon Moore because Jaylon Moore is on the books for $18.6 next year, just under $18.7 million to make against the cap in 2026. So, I mean, I think you have to put him at right tackle. Maybe have Pole as, although I don't think Pole played outside of left tackle. I don't think he moved to the right at all. But maybe use him as a swing if need be. I don't know if Wanye Morris is still, what's up with him? I think he's free agent as far as I know. I mean, I'm fine with the backups. I mean, it's a backup, right? You're not necessarily trying to use them, but yeah, Wanye Morris is on the Chiefs for 2026. He is 1.7 against the cap. So you'll still have Wanye Morris who can swing, play left or right at a serviceable level. But obviously, this is at the backup. You can't pay everybody to, have all pro backups. But at the same time, I think the Chiefs' offensive line is fine. And I just bring that up really as we're talking about the draft. I don't think that it's pertinent to go out and get some tackle. I feel like there's just places that I've seen where it seems like people really feel like the Chiefs need some type of O-line help. And I think just the philosophy of this draft in general, has changed in a big way to where I think early it was, okay, it's Jeremiah Love or it's an edge rusher, to where now I feel like there's a little bit, could be Sonny Styles if he's there or if they try to, make a move up. But I think that it's really become, I guess, defense or wide receiver for me in the first round.
And that could be a part of his strategy too. Maybe they move up and get Tate, or maybe they wait for Lemon at, I think Lemon's considered the second best, but that's, still top 10. I would be okay if we announced Tate, Lemon, or Style. I mean, I can't foresee us moving up to get Styles. That mock draft you had Styles falling. I just can't see him falling that far. I'm fine with us getting, a couple of different cats. Receiver to me is my biggest concern, and there's obviously concerns all over the place, but receiver and corner are my biggest concern because that was our biggest problems last year. We couldn't stop you from doing anything, and we couldn't catch the ball. You can't win a football game if you can't stop defenses or offenses in big moments, and if you don't catch the ball, you don't win. Not to be John Madden, but and people always point to, well, look, the Chiefs were still the third best point per game defense. Okay, well, we still lost 11 games.
Yeah.
Yes, points per game is important, but if you watch the Chiefs every week, and injuries happen, and if you watch the Chiefs when they were healthy enough, fully healthy, or healthy enough, they gave up huge plays when they mattered, and they also turned it over when it mattered. You're not going to win. Even if you give up 15 points a game, you're not going to win a game. Yeah. So the Chiefs have a lot of issues that they need to fix. And Caleb Downs is another option. I don't know how high he is on people's list, but I've heard he's a potential top 5 pick. He's very talented too. So there's a lot of guys out there that I think the Chiefs can get. I just don't know how willing Brett is to move up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. So something that I just caught my eye today that I wanted to ask you about too, that I saw on Twitter, Chris Jones tweeted just Cam Jordan ... I kind of thought the same thing. Just with the face you made, I totally get it. For a 1-year deal, I don't know. I mean, maybe. There's also the potential of what if Maxx Crosby becomes a free agent? Because kind of circling back to the Maxx Crosby thing is how excited he was to be out of Vegas when that deal happened. So I don't know. There's a lot of talk, and it's all speculation because at the end of the day, I mean, I think that if they really want to mend that and figure it out, I think both sides can. But at the same time, is it irreparable if they release him? I mean, the Raiders are going to be footing the bill, and the Chiefs could come in for a league minimum and get Maxx Crosby in. I mean, I think that it just pertaining to the conversation that we're having, I think that I agree with you. Receiver and edge rusher are the two most vital things that you have left to figure out for the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion.
Yeah, and defensive end would be one too. I think defensive end and corner are tied. In my thought, I think they're pretty close.
Yeah, they definitely need depth at corner. I'm fine if they go into the draft, and even if it was Caleb Downs and one other corner, but I think you need to definitely draft at least a couple of DBs.
Yes. Well, we don't have any, so we need some anyway. But the Maxx Crosby thing is interesting. I've seen a couple of people tweet about, imagine if Maxx Crosby, had the league minimum or whatever it was to come here. Max ain't coming here. It would be
Sure.
against every bone in his body to come here. Not that he wouldn't like to play here. It's just, he just can't. I think it was Josh Jacobs who I think the Chiefs offered him a deal, and he said, "No, I'm good. I'm not going to play for you because I just can't." Which whatever, but it. I think Chiefs. I think that's an important thing too that people maybe understand, maybe they don't, because a lot of these guys follow these rivalries a lot closer than we think. Hey, Max isn't going to come here. If he does, I'll be stunned and overjoyed. But he will probably, because like you said, the Raiders are going to have to pay the contract if they let him go. So anybody can get him for a pretty relatively cheap deal or cheap on their books or whatever you want to call it. It makes me nervous because I think Buffalo is on the phone with them right now. I feel like there's a lot of teams that we have to face that is probably on the phone with them. So it's going to be an interesting story. The Raiders, like I said, they opened their checkbook and they spent their money. Maybe they blew some cash on and a lot of good moves. I mean, they got a center that they needed. They got Jacoby Dean from the Eagles. So there's a lot of good pieces that they got, but the Raiders aren't going to get rid of those guys just to keep Maxx Crosby. It's not happening. So
Yeah, and that's something they're going to have to figure out
I don't
very
know.
quick with the new league year starting. Because now we're going to start seeing everybody, ink these deals and,
Right.
whatever. And yeah, they are going to have to figure it out because just like we were talking about all the guys that the Ravens lost, Linderbaum was one of them that went to Vegas, the center. So, right? I think so. I think that was correct.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's basically their own little Netflix love series drama.
Okay, yeah, that's what confused me.
Happen.
It's a typo on the Baltimore Ravens website. It says Tyler Linderbaum was signed by the Los Angeles Raiders.
Oh, well,
they're like
whatever.
30
Maybe.
years late on.
Yeah, I was going to say 30, 50 years late, but whatever. But, I think that's kind of their education level over in Baltimore. Let's see here nor there.
Nice dig.
But anyway, everything can change in the blink of an eye. Max could be in the NFC for all we know tonight. So who knows? Lots of interesting pieces there, but a lot of drama. Speaking,
yeah, I think that's it.
Of a lot of drama.
Yes, sir.
Who's ready to watch Ronda Rousey talk for 6 weeks about her super exciting fight? Actually, when is the fight? It's not this weekend, is it?
No, it's in May. We have like 2 months until this fight.
In May? They already did the face-off, and it's in May.
Bro, hold on. Yeah, let me look this up. I saw 5 next to it, so let me double check. We'll know exactly when. It's gonna be a 5-round fight, May 16th, 2026.
Why would you do the face-off already, but it's 2 months away?
Well, you got to get hyped for it. Look, it made us talk about it. Well, you also got 2 ladies that haven't fought in how long? I mean, I think the last time Gina Carano fought was when she lost to Cyborg.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. It's not that it's Ronda Rousey. It's the fact that she hasn't had a fight in, 10 years? 8 years at the most. I mean, and then she went to WWE, which is fine, whatever. But, that's obviously a very different entity altogether. Listen, I've really soured on Ronda in a lot of different ways, and not from the WWE aspect. Whatever, she couldn't handle it.
10 years, yeah. 2016 was her last fight.
Yeah, it's just how she handled the Holly Holm fight was weird. One. And then just every loss after, it wasn't her fault. It was her health issues. It was somebody's fault. Nothing has ever been Ronda Rousey's fault ever. It's weird, and I will touch on this. They asked her one night. There's an interview. I think they were interviewing about her book, which I'm sure is fascinating. And they talked about What did you think of Vince? What did you like about Vince? I didn't like anything about Vince. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you didn't like the guy who made you millions of dollars and put you on a rocket ship. I'm sure you hated that guy. Whatever, dude. I just to me, Ronda is that girl in school who hates everybody until somebody likes her. It's just I'm not interested. And if this was like in her comments on the stand in front of maybe 100 people, I don't know how many people were there, but it didn't sound like that many from the audience. Her comments were just so off-putting. She's talking about, all these girls showing their boobs on OnlyFans, these fighters. It's like, you haven't fought in 10 years. What are you talking about? She's so demeaning and degrade. She thinks she's the pioneer for women's sports. It's like, well, you were for 15 years ago, but you're just some old lady sitting on a rocking chair saying, back in my day, just shut up. I don't know. Anyway, you can tell I'm not going to watch.
Well, okay, so I think you have some good points here because, and I agree with you. Like, look, 10 years ago, this fight wouldn't have been like moving to me. Gina Carano hasn't fought since 2009. 2009, the Obama administration. This woman has not fought since, and lost in the first round to Chris Cyborg. She had one other bout that was canceled in 2011. And now she will fight Ronda Rousey May 16th. Now, I don't know anything about the rest of the card. I don't know if, like, what the plan is with the rest of the card. I assume there's going to be others. I'm on Tapology right now, kind of scoping out what I can find. Okay, they did confirm the Felipe Lins fight versus Francis Ngannou as well on this card. So, I don't know. There's a few things that I will have to say about this because I do disagree with you on what she had to say because I think she's spot on. Although the OnlyFans comment was kind of wild just because Valentina is sponsored by OnlyFans. She doesn't really, it's not that kind of stuff because there are other fighters out there that are, on OnlyFans with exactly what she was talking about. We know these guys don't get paid enough. And the whole Conor Ben situation has also now shown us, and more fighters are going to be, speaking out against it. And the UFC is already actively retaliating, in my opinion. You've got MVP who started to speak out of it, confirmed with a unranked opponent after beating two ranked opponents. I mean, what are we doing here? We know the play. We see it happening in real time. And, so is she the right person to bear this cross? No, I don't think so because she was the golden child of the UFC while she was there. She didn't get her way. And, just like to your point, when she doesn't get her way or when she loses, all of a sudden, it's scorched earth Ronda and everything sucked about everything. I think you hit the nail on the head with the WWE thing. And, whoever it was, whether, she just had issues with Vince, or had issues with, the crowd. For WrestleMania 35, that the crowd turned on her all, pro Becky and stuff like that. And then she had to share the ring with two other ladies and didn't go over. And, and then came the, what was it? All of the, it's fake fighting and stuff like that. Well, we know it's fake. Look, we're here for the entertainment value. We're not here for real fights right now, and that's something that she obviously doesn't understand.
Well,
but
see, Ronda Rousey saves the day again. I had no idea. Just by God, if she can do one thing, she can do it all. I mean, well, that takes a load off my shoulders because all this time I've been telling people CM Punk's really going to get hurt by Roman Reigns because he's just so much stronger than me. I was worried it was going to go, maybe a couple rounds at the most. Listen, I agree with you. I think the pay scale for UFC is weird. I think it's very shady. I think it's been shady for a long time,
Absolutely.
not just ever since TKO.
Well, and then them redoing the Ali Act. And then to find out, I just watched this Luke Thomas video the other day on it, and to find out that Sharice Davids is one of the, biggest parts of it that was a former fighter. You got in the government to fuck over fighters? Like, bro, I just, yes. And so that is why I will be watching this on Netflix and making sure that it gets recorded that I was watching it. And I'm sure at some point, I mean, I don't know if the UFC has anything scheduled right now, but in my mind, I'm just thinking they're definitely going to counter this with something. More than likely. I'm looking up the UFC schedule now to see if there's anything May 16th, but I would assume that they'll try to counter it. I'll go back and watch, whatever fights was on that night later on that night, and I will watch the Ronda Rousey fight live. So right now, there is nothing scheduled from May 2nd until June 14th. So they'd have to throw something in there. But Saturday, May 2nd, there's a fight night. That's Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. And then June 14th, we have UFC Freedom 250, Topuria versus Gaethje, and, that whole huge card that they're going to have at the White House. But, yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ronda didn't get her way. She's mad. She's going to go scorched earth on the UFC. And Francis Ngannou is kind of in the same boat where it's like he's kind of burned all of his bridges. But I don't know. I mean, they're fighting for the right cause. And I did not realize this until just now, but Ronda Rousey's fighting at 145 pounds, which even more shameful, shame on your name, that she would not fight Chris Cyborg and told her that she would only fight her at 135 pounds, which we all knew Cyborg could not get down to. Cutting down to 145 was already tough enough on her. And now here she comes out of retirement to fight at 145 pounds.
You mean Ronda ducked somebody?
Yes, absolutely.
Golly gee, that surprises me.
To be fair, I don't know. Did she duck anybody else? I don't think she
couldn't duck Holly Holm. Hey-o.
She sure
but
the head kick.
correction, she tried, but that didn't go very well. I guess not, but I mean, how much of that was her, and how much of that was Dana saying you have to do this? I mean, fighting. I'm completely blanking. Best female fighter of all time.
Say it again.
Best female fighter of all time. We know who it is. I've completely blanked on her name.
Oh, Amanda Nunes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fighting Nunes. She didn't want any part of that. She knew Nunes was going to knock her head off her shoulders. No, she didn't. But
I don't think at that point that we all kind of knew Nunes who... We did and we didn't at the same time, right? I think that Nunes at that point was kind of... that was before, obviously GOAT status and all of that. So, I mean, we knew Nunes was dangerous, but I don't know if we knew exactly that was going to happen. And I think Ronda Rousey believed her own hype, especially there at the end of her career. I think she thought that she could come back and... Nunes complained about it. I mean, I remember her complaining about how all the promotion was Ronda Rousey, and she's like, hey, I'm the champ. Promote me. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
That's
it'll
true.
Be interesting.
That's true. I guess I didn't at that time, but they fought twice, didn't they? Or was
no, just the one time.
Okay, that's right.
I believe they were only in the cage 46 seconds together. I think it was the 48. Sorry, she lasted 2 more seconds. 48. Mind you, this is 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Yeah, that should have shown you how good Nunes is going to be.
Absolutely.
Now, granted, that was towards the end of Ronda's career.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're good enough to fight the champ, you should at least be able to beat the champ. And boy, howdy did she not.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm trying to think. I know WBC is going on right now. People are in turmoil that America may not even make it out. I don't know. I don't know the rules of WBC that much to comment on that.
The bracket is confusing, I will say, yeah.
What did you take? So apparently people are mad at the manager for sitting starters out during this particular time because now this is why America's in this spot, apparently. I don't know. But apparently he sat Bryce Harper and somebody else against Italy, I guess, from my understanding.
Yes, I did see that, and that's how Italy ended up beating the U.S. I can't remember because I did see a tweet about that. and I can't remember the other name either. So my thought is, why did they sit? They probably sat because, there's stars on their team and they don't want them, or, on their MLB team and don't want them playing, so this is part of my beef with the WBC of just from an American perspective. I think the way Americans view it, for the majority of the part, and as I'm saying American, I kind of mean just like Major League Baseball, MLB, is the fact that, like, I feel like it's a big deal. I feel like it should be a big deal. I mean, it's the World Cup of baseball, essentially, is what we're doing. And we're trying to, promote the sport to the masses and the whole world and make it a global event. And I get it. Like, your guys are, it's spring training. They're trying to get ready. And there's all this backlash. There's going to be all this talk over the next 3-4 months of, if someone's struggling or having a bad time at the plate, well, you know why? He was in the WBC. And, it's nonsense. It's all nonsense. Like, let's go watch some great baseball for a few weeks. Let's watch all these countries play against each other and let people play for their, home country or, whoever they want to play for, I guess, because seeing some of the numbers is confusing.
To be fair, Italy's team is America. I mean, it's Jack Cagliano, Vinny Pasquantino. How those guys are Italian as Olive Garden, but just it like you said, it's a fun experience for everyone to watch different countries play each other. I feel like a lot of people, and I think it's a good reminder that baseball is a world game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that, America very rarely wins the WBC. It's usually Korea or, Mexico or somebody like that. It's tough to win the WBC. So, now if football had a WBC, that would be something to watch. But, fat chance with that. But let's see. Anything else? I don't
Yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, I agree with you. Shout out to Bryce. I always crush his dreams every time a WBC comes around, and he's like, "Oh man, that USA team looks good." And I'm like, they're gonna lose to Japan, right? It happens every time. It's all right. They're just
better. Especially now, Japan's roster is absurd.
Dude, yeah, those teams are good, man. And just, I don't know, man. We're seeing a whole different generation of baseball, and I think it's exciting. I think it's fun. And what Shohei Ohtani has done just blows my mind. To think that we're seeing, like, the second coming of Babe Ruth. Like, this dude is doing what Babe Ruth did in 2020, in the 2020s, you know what I mean? And I don't think that any of us ever thought something like that would happen again, where we saw a guy pitch at an all-star level and hit at an all-star level. So I don't know. And he had boomers like me come around to the universal DH, because I know how I was about that. Is that damn DH, get it out of here. And I'm all aboard now with the DH. So I don't know, I was always an NL guy. But with that being said, I appreciate you, DJ, joining the podcast, and what a wonderful time of year with all the craziness going around, and everybody gets to shit talk just as much. All of our teams in the NFL are on the same, level ground at this point. So it's a fun time of year.
Well, unless you're a Broncos fan, then you're the best team of all time. But that's neither here nor there. Shout out to Bobby before we cut off. 2 of the best plays I've ever seen. I get to see that a lot every day, pretty much, and Bobby Witt Jr. I understand Aaron Judge, but can we just stop it? Bobby Witt Jr. is the second best player in baseball.
Baseball. I'm with you. I'm right there with you.
He just is. Let's quit it. Aaron Judge is done in a couple of years. Let's just quit it. Just stop it.
Did you catch that meme that they made of the it's the dude looking back at the other girl, and it's Paul Skeens and
it's Paul Skeens, and back at Bobby
yeah.
That's a good one. Just so we're clear, to see somebody do that once is phenomenal, but to do it twice in the same inning, just watch some Bobby Witt Jr. baseball. That's all.
Yeah, dude, Bobby's amazing. All right, EDJ, and to everybody watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me. Hit the like button. EDJ will be back, I'm sure, sooner rather than later. We'll be talking more Chiefs football, baseball, the whole nine. Until next time, we're out of here.